My husband's long-lost beloved has returned after a decade. With tears streaming down her face, she threw herself into her husband's embrace, while he tenderly murmured words of comfort. She cast a feigned look of pity in my direction. Since I have returned, does that mean you will divorce her and have her move out? She presumed I was merely a stand-in summoned by my husband, usurping the life that rightfully belonged to her. Little did she know that the affluence she now witnessed was entirely the result of my own efforts. Upon hearing her words, my husband instinctively pushed her away, while the expressions of my in-laws darkened. I stepped forward and delivered a sharp slap to my husband's face. Sort out your mess before you come to see me. My husband's beloved has returned. As soon as I returned home, I was met with a heart-wrenching scene of reunion. A delicate girl nestled in my husband's arms, weeping like a rain-soaked pear blossom as he gently comforted her. My mother-in-law stood nearby, her eyes brimming with tears, repeatedly exclaiming, "It is so good that you are back, so good." The four of them stood together, harmoniously resembling a true family, while I felt like the intruder. Casually setting down my limited edition Hermes handbag, I inquired, "And who might this be?" At the sight of my entrance, their reunion momentarily froze. My husband, Yu Hao, instinctively reached to push the girl away, eager to explain himself to me. However, my mother-in-law spoke up first. Ran, you're back. This is my dear friend's daughter, Chulan. She has endured much hardship and is only just now returning." As she spoke, my mother-in-law was on the verge of tears again. Chulan, I had heard of her. After all, prior to marrying Yu Hao, I had conducted some investigation into his background. He had a childhood neighbor, a girl with whom he shared an innocent bond, though they had never truly been together. Yu Hao had assured me that he regarded Chulan as nothing more than a sister and held no ulterior motives. Tragically, 10 years ago, Chulan's parents perished in an accident during their travels, and she had been abducted by human traffickers, her whereabouts unknown. For this, my in-laws had been plagued with guilt, constantly seeking news of Chulan's fate. As I gazed at Chulan, intending to offer solace to this unfortunate girl, I was met with a pair of hostile eyes. She looked at me as if I were an interloper, having usurped her happy life. I couldn't help but chuckle softly, retracting the words that almost escaped my lips, merely observing Chulan as she clung tightly to my husband's arm, her eyes glistening with tears, her voice frail. Who is she?" Yu Hao responded, "She is my wife, Lin Ran. You should address her as sister-in-law." Chulan's expression shifted dramatically, her voice rising in indignation. "How could you marry another woman? What about me?" Her lips were pale, and with a delicate touch, she wiped away her tears, murmuring, "Should I not have returned to disturb your blissful life?" The grandmother hurried over to console her, saying, "Silly child, what nonsense are you talking? Your parents are no longer with us. From now on, I will treat you as my own. Consider this place your home, and I shall cherish you as my dear daughter." With tear-filled eyes, Chulan looked at Yu Hao, her gaze brimming with a mix of hope and anxiety, and asked, "Really?" Yu Hao nodded reassuringly. "Indeed, from now on, this will be your home. You are my sister, and we are all your family. Do not think of yourself as an outsider." Chulan turned to me, a glimmer of prideful provocation in her eyes, striking a victorious pose. Bored, I languidly sank into the sofa, nibbling on the fruits prepared by the servants, as if watching a farcical drama that had nothing to do with me. Noticing my silence, Chulan assumed I was retreating in fear and boldly declared, "Brother Hao, since I have returned, shouldn't you divorce her?" The moment those words left her lips, an eerie silence enveloped the living room. Chulan, not receiving immediate affirmation, displayed a flicker of dissatisfaction and added, "Brother Hao, you once said you would marry me when we grew up." My grandmother chuckled awkwardly and said, "Xiaolan, what nonsense are you spouting? Are you really taking childhood games seriously?" Yu Hao pushed her aside, his face drained of color, and exclaimed, "Stop talking nonsense. I have a wonderful relationship with Ran. There is no way we would divorce. Xiaolan, Yu Hao considers you his little sister. You must not speak recklessly," my father-in-law interjected sternly. The three members of Yu Hao's family glanced at me anxiously, as if fearing I might become angry. I let out a soft laugh, fully aware of Chulan's despicable tactics. Just because I remain unfazed does not mean you can run amok. Rising from my seat, I sauntered up to Yu Hao and slapped him across the face, leaving behind a single remark, "Tend to your mess before seeking me out." With that, I turned and exited the Yu household like a regal queen, my expression devoid of any sorrow. I strode directly into the neighboring 3-story villa, sprawling over 1,000 square meters, where a variety of exquisite flowers bloomed exuberantly in the garden. Each blossom was planted there because of my fondness for them, lovingly nurtured by the gardener. As soon as I stepped inside, the servants approached me respectfully. "Greeting, miss. You have returned." Indeed, this villa was my parents' home. As the sole daughter of a wealthy family, I had been pampered since childhood. Yet, as the only heir of the Lin family, I had diligently learned all necessary skills. Love had never constituted my entirety. It was Yu Hao's sincerity and ambition that captivated me, allowing me to win over my parents before we became a couple. The servants swiftly brought forth an array of my favorite delicacies, feeding me like royalty. Another servant stood behind me, skillfully kneading my shoulders, their trained hands imparting immense comfort, causing my eyes to involuntarily narrow with pleasure. Returning to my family home was indeed the most comforting and liberating experience. As for Tsulon, a tiresome white lotus, she was hardly worth my concern. Just as I intended to unwind by the pool in the backyard, Yu Hao and my in-laws hurried after me. Ran, please do not be upset. Tsulon and I definitely do not have that kind of relationship, and I have never considered divorcing you. Upon seeing me, Yu Hao hurriedly explained, "The doctor said she is in a poor mental state, so please do not take her words to heart." My grandmother also grasped my hand, explaining, Ran, Xiaolon is a troubled child. She was sold by human traffickers to a small village to be someone's wife, forced to bear 2 children, and endured daily beatings. Living in inhumane conditions for nearly a decade. She finally managed to escape, so I want to provide her some material compensation. Of course, we will never allow her to disrupt your relationship with Yu Hao. Indeed, she is a girl of unfortunate fate, I thought. If Tsulon were willing to remain compliant and embrace her role as a daughter of the Yu family, I would not mind offering her protection. Treating her as my sister and ensuring her future was worry-free. However, it was evident that Tsulon sought not merely the identity of a Yu family daughter, but aspired to be the daughter-in-law of the Yu family. Her eyes betrayed an insatiable ambition. Considering their seemingly sincere demeanor, I smiled faintly and said, "However, she does not seem to like me very much. Perhaps I should stay at my family home for a few days." "That is out of the question. You are a member of the Yu family. How can you stay at your family home? Besides, your parents are not here. We worry about you being alone," my grandmother disapproved. Yu Hao further asserted, "Wife, if you are not at home, I will not be able to sleep at night." He scooped me up in a princess carry, bringing me back to the Yu household. As we reached the entrance of the living room, it was no surprise that I caught a glimpse of the intense jealousy in Tsulon's eyes. Her hands clenched at her sides, veins bulging. I paid little mind to Tsulon, yet her antics continued to plague me. Each morning, I indulged in a bowl of bird's nest soup, a beauty elixir. Tsulon's tears streamed down her face as she lamented. I thought I would never have the chance to eat a full meal again, let alone know the taste of bird's nest. My grandmother immediately comforted her. "It is all in the past. From now on, you can eat whatever you desire. You will no longer go hungry. If you want bird's nest, I will buy some for you another day." Yet Tsulon's gaze fixated on the bird's nest in my bowl as she pitifully interjected, "But sister-in-law, aren't you eating it?" I paused, my hand holding the spoon faltering. Was she trying to lay claim to my bird's nest? My grandmother chuckled awkwardly, trying to placate her. "The bird's nest your sister-in-law is enjoying is specially ordered from abroad by her father. It is a rare delicacy." Tsulon, with feigned innocence, asked, "Sister-in-law, why don't you share some with Auntie? After all, you are her daughter-in-law." As her clumsy provocation hung in the air, the dining room atmosphere thickened. I elegantly rose, pushing the unfinished bird's nest toward Tsulon. "If you like it, why not give it a try?" If she did not mind eating what I had left behind, Tsulon, believing she had successfully instigated discord, gleamed with a sense of triumph and adopted a seemingly obedient demeanor. Good things should naturally be shared with elders. She aimed to highlight her own obedience and filial piety, sharply contrasting with my perceived selfishness. Alas, her cunning scheme fell flat. I ascended the stairs, hearing Yu Hao's displeased voice trailing behind. "My mother is allergic to bird's nest. You should refrain from making such insensitive remarks." Before long, I changed into another outfit and descended. Yu Hao immediately took my hand. Ran, you look so beautiful. What are you planning to do?" "Shopping," I replied coolly. "Here, take this card. Buy whatever you like." Yu Hao handed me a gold card, his gaze filled with affection. Tsulon's eyes blazed with jealousy, yet she forced a sweet smile. "I haven't been shopping in 10 years. I wonder what Haiqing is like now." My kind-hearted mother-in-law softened once more, suggesting, "Why don't you go shopping with your sister-in-law? I can accompany you both." "Yu Hao, drive us." "All right," Yu Hao replied softly. I can accompany you to pick up the dress you ordered last time. Sulon stepped forward, linking her arm through Yuhao's, deliberately showcasing their closeness before hurriedly taking the front passenger seat, flashing me a taunting smile. I shook my head and turned to drive out a pink Lamborghini from the garage. I did not comprehend why she took pride in merely sitting in the front passenger seat. Upon seeing the car I was driving, Sulon turned a shade of green, exclaiming, "Sister-in-law, is this a luxury car? I have never seen one before." "Then let you gaze upon it a little longer," I replied nonchalantly, disregarding her contorted expression, and pressed the accelerator, departing with flair. Yuhao would have liked to accompany me, but unfortunately, my mother-in-law remained in his car. Upon reaching the mall, I walked directly through the VIP entrance. Seeing this, Sulon attempted to follow suit but was blocked by security. Defiantly, she pointed at me. "Why are you stopping me? Is it because my sister-in-law does not want me to accompany her shopping?" The mother-in-law ushered her inside, stating, "Ran Yen is a distinguished member of our shopping mall, with an annual expenditure exceeding 10 million. Naturally, she is entitled to access the VIP passage. As for you, having fallen behind, the security personnel do not recognize you and, therefore, must impede your progress." Upon hearing the mention of such a staggering annual spending, Sulon's face contorted with jealousy. Yet tears of grievance streamed down her cheeks as she lamented, "I had no idea my sister-in-law could spend so extravagantly. During my time in the village, I scarcely laid eyes on even 100 yuan. Implicit in her words was the accusation of my profligacy, which elicited a smile from me. The mother-in-law, feeling sympathetic towards the hardships Sulon endured in the small mountain village, quickly reassured her, saying, "Enough of the past. If you are in need of money, simply let Auntie know, and I shall provide for you." I regarded her with a bemused smile and remarked, "Rest assured, that is but a bygone era. Your current balance should be ample enough for you to spend without restraint." Upon her return, the mother-in-law had compensated Sulon by having Yuhao provide her with a card boasting a 1,000,000 yuan balance. What was the purpose of her lamenting her financial woes before me at this juncture? Sulon's expression froze momentarily, but her sense of grievance deepened as she confessed, "I fear that this life is merely a dream. When I awaken, I may find myself back in that hellish village." I could scarcely be bothered to engage with her further and proceeded to the counter to collect my bespoke gown, a masterpiece handcrafted by a high-end designer, with a price tag exceeding 1,000,000 yuan, taking 3 months to complete. "Miss Lin, do you find any areas in need of alteration?" the attendant inquired respectfully while presenting the gown. Sulon's gaze lingered on the resplendent and extravagant garment, and the price announced by the attendant ignited a clear glimmer of greed within her eyes. However, she hesitated until the mother-in-law prompted her to speak. Reluctantly, she ventured, "Sister-in-law, do you not realize? What do you wish to convey?" the mother-in-law asked, perplexed. Sulon, wringing her hands, spoke with a tone heavy with compassion. "There are countless women and children suffering in some corner of the world. This gown of yours could potentially save many of those unfortunate souls. Would you consider returning it to aid them?" The attendant could not suppress her sarcasm, retorting, "This is a custom-made gown. Once completed, it cannot be returned. Even if you forego the gown, the funds cannot be refunded. Besides, for Miss Lin, it is merely an ordinary piece of clothing." Sulon's complexion paled as she clutched the hem of her garment tightly. "I simply pity those who are suffering." I chuckled softly, signaling the attendant to wrap the gown while addressing Sulon. "Little Lon, you truly are a person who has weathered storms. Even now that you are sheltered from the rain, you still wish to hold an umbrella for others." Sulon, adopting a modest demeanor, replied, "Indeed, I merely hope that there are fewer people in this world who suffer. I cannot, in good conscience, indulge in luxuries as you do." I nodded in agreement. "Perfectly said. Darling, did you not provide Little Lon with a gold card bearing a 1,000,000 yuan balance? We cannot allow her noble intentions to go unfulfilled. Why not donate that sum in her name to assist those in distress?" Yuhao, ever obedient to my words, readily agreed. "Very well. I shall instruct someone to make it happen." Sulon's countenance turned pale as she contemplated intervening, yet fearing her carefully crafted persona might crumble, she gritted her teeth and retorted, "Sister-in-law, a gown costing over 1,000,000 yuan, just a trickle from it could save countless lives. Have you never considered helping those in need? Attempting to morally bind me?" I raised an eyebrow and leaned closer, saying, "Oh, how remiss of me not to mention that since I was 10, I have established a charitable foundation, donating at least 100 million yuan each year." Sulon forced a strained smile. "Sister-in-law, you are truly generous." I merely replied, "I simply prefer to remain low-key." I mocked lightly, observing Tsulon's face contort in frustration. With glee, I exited with my gown, continuing to peruse several luxury boutiques, acquiring whatever caught my fancy without a moment's hesitation. As for Tsulon, bereft of funds, she could purchase nothing and could only watch enviously as I indulged. Having lost that million, her heart surely ached with each passing moment. I had assumed that suffering such a significant loss would temper her spirit, but evidently, I had overestimated her. Upon returning to the Yu household, I learned from the maid that Yu Hui had sent me 2 large packages from abroad. Yu Hui, Yu Hao's younger brother, shares a close bond with me. Having aided him in his entrepreneurial endeavors, he regards me with the reverence of a sister, often sending me gifts. Upon noticing the opened gift boxes on the table, I was dismayed to find that the jewelry Yu Hui had sent was already adorning Tsulon. My expression darkened as I approached her and demanded, "Why have you taken my gifts without permission?" Tsulon defensively clutched the jewelry, asserting, "This is from Brother Hui. How can it belong to you?" I scoffed, presenting the package to her. "Examine the recipient's name. Whose is it?" Tsulon's expression shifted, but she countered, "There are 2 gifts, one of which must surely be mine." "On what grounds?" I retorted. "I have known Brother Hui since childhood. He must have sent me gifts upon learning of my return." Tsulon replied defiantly. I had no desire to engage in further debate with her. I merely instructed the maid, "Please remove everything and return it unopened." To my surprise, the maid refused, stating, "Miss Lin, Miss Tsulon is quite pitiable. Perhaps one of those gifts truly belongs to her?" I had not anticipated the maid would side with Tsulon. A triumphant glint shone in Tsulon's eyes. Just then, Yu Hao returned, and she immediately feigned tears, presenting herself as a victim of injustice. "Brother Hao, does sister-in-law truly dislike me so? She even seeks to take the gifts Brother Hui sent to me." To my astonishment, Yu Hao pushed her away, frowning as he countered, "Brother Hui sent you gifts? Why would he do that?" Immediately, he glanced nervously at me, seemingly concerned about my potential misinterpretation. I remained relaxed on the sofa, watching Tsulon's performance. A free show was a show worth watching. Tsulon, with her head bowed, resembled a wronged little wife, insisting, "I have known Brother Hui since childhood. It is only natural for him to send me gifts upon learning of my return." "But he does not know you have returned," Yu Hao replied with a hint of exasperation. Tsulon's expression faltered, but she persisted, "Nevertheless, it cannot be meant for Lin Ranyan." The sight of those obviously valuable jewels made her unwilling to relinquish them. She could not bear to give up without a fight. Even her pretense was abandoned. Internally, I critiqued her performance, lamenting that her acting skills were insufficiently refined, revealing her true nature as a green tea, her level far too simplistic. Yu Hao, growing impatient, stated, "It is entirely normal for Brother Hui to send gifts to Ranyan. How can that possibly be in question?" Tsulon attempted to rebut, but I had seen enough of the drama and interjected, "The truth of whom the gifts were intended for can be easily verified with a phone call." A flicker of anxiety crossed Tsulon's face, but she quickly regained her composure. "Very well, let us call." She appeared confident that her childhood connection with Yu Hui would prevent him from embarrassing her in front of others. I dialed Yu Hui's number, and Yu Hao concurred with my suggestion, pulling out his phone to call Yu Hui and switching to speaker mode. "Yu Hui, who are the 2 gifts you sent intended for?" Yu Hao asked bluntly. A clear voice resonated from the other end. "Of course, they are for my sister-in-law. Has she received them?" "Indeed," I replied. Tsulon, her face paling, interjected loudly, "Brother Hui, it is Tsulon. Do you remember me? It has been a while since we last met. When will you return? I have prepared a gift for you." Yu Hui responded with a polite refusal. "I have no plans to return to the country in the near future. Thank you, but there is no need." He then cheerfully addressed Yu Hao. "Brother, is sister-in-law there? Does she like the gifts I sent? Also, there are 2 cards in the box. One is for 5 million, for sister-in-law to spend as she pleases. It is just a small gesture from me." Tsulon's teeth ground together in fury upon hearing about the 5 million yuan card, her eyes glinting with envy. Yu Hao concluded the call, turning to Tsulon. "Now you understand. Those gifts are for Ranyan." That said, Tsulon still found it difficult to part with these expensive gifts. I boldly stepped forward and forcibly removed the diamond jewelry that belonged to me, which she was wearing on her ears and around her neck. She cried out in pain, yet I remained unmoved, swiftly retrieving the 2 $5 million cards as well. The gifts from Ahui were far too precious to be squandered by someone like her. With tearful eyes, Tsulon accused me. "Sister-in-law, do you not like them? You clearly do not lack for anything. What harm is there in sharing a little with me?" I shook the cards in my hand, sneering. You are correct. I do not like you, and even if I had an abundance, I would never give you any. Tsulon, with a delicate demeanor, attempted to complain to Yu Hao. He directly replied, since Ranyan does not appreciate your presence, it would be best for you to appear less frequently in front of her. Tsulon, gritting her teeth in frustration, found herself at a loss for words. At that moment, I felt an exhilarating sense of clarity. My in-laws descended from upstairs. Unperturbed, Tsulon quickly adjusted her expression and languidly remarked, Uncle, Auntie, it must have been quite a challenge to develop the Yu family business to its current state. However, sister-in-law's extravagant spending could very well lead to its downfall. Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law retorted, if Ranyan were to squander the Yu family's money, that would be a blessing. She hasn't even touched a penny of the money we've given her, as she has invested it all back into the Yu family enterprise. Before I could utter a word, Tsulon's face was effectively struck down. She remained unaware that, apart from my father's wealth, I had learned to invest my seemingly endless funds, thus rendering me independent of the Yu family's finances. Yet, the Yu family was always eager to provide me with financial support. I smiled serenely and turned to the maid who had assisted Tsulon, saying, You may collect your belongings and leave. The maid's complexion paled. Miss Lin, why must you dismiss me? I found it amusing to retort, Must I provide a reason for your dismissal? As the mistress, my whims dictate who remains in service. The maid immediately turned to my mother-in-law for help. Madam, I have always been diligent in my work and have never made a mistake. I cannot simply be cast aside by Miss Lin. Yet my mother-in-law coldly stated, Ranyan is right. She does not require a reason to dismiss you. Hurry and pack your things. The maid helplessly grasped my arm, pleading, Miss Lin, I realize my mistake. I should not have supported Miss Tsulon in claiming the gifts were intended for her. I bestowed upon her a radiant smile and simply uttered 2 words. Leave quickly. Yu Hao pushed her away, cautiously protecting me. I noticed Tsulon's eyes were red, filled with resentment as she glared at me. Oh, at this level. She still dared to dance before me. Were it not for her incessant annoyance, I would hardly bother to acknowledge her. I understood that Tsulon would likely continue to stir trouble. Observing her remarkably delicate hands, doubts began to blossom in my mind. How could someone who had endured years of abuse in a mountain village possess such tender hands? I decided to call my father, adopting a playful tone. Dad, could you please investigate Tsulon's background? Sure, I will look into it promptly. Have you been bullied? My father's voice was filled with affection. I replied with a touch of pride. Who could possibly bully your daughter? I merely sensed something amiss. It would be prudent to clarify. After hanging up, I ventured into the back garden, only to overhear 2 maids mocking Tsulon. How audacious! What right does a dirty woman, who has been trafficked and bore 2 illegitimate children, have to compete with Miss Lin? This is what one calls overstepping one's bounds, attempting the impossible. Miss Lin is the daughter of the richest family, and Mr. You must have been blind to choose such a lowly creature over her. Their words dripped with disdain for Tsulon. Yet, I felt no sympathy for her. Those who have suffered should wish to forget their past and strive for a better future. Yet, Tsulon incessantly brings up her trivial sufferings to elicit the maid's meager sympathy. But when that sympathy conflicts with her self-interest, her past becomes a weapon for others to wield against her. The maid who had been dismissed for aiding her had made the other maids acutely aware of their allegiances. Soon, I witnessed a figure charge out, forcibly tugging at the hair of the 2 maids while fiercely berating them. You vile wretches, how dare you slander me behind my back? I will tear your mouths apart. Oh, was it Tsulon confronting the maids? I quickly took out my phone to record the scene. The maids, upon seeing her, felt no shame or fear, and instead continued their mockery. So now you've dropped the pretense of being a pure white lotus? What have we said that was incorrect? Do you even need us to slander you? In a fit of rage, Tsulon shoved one of the maids. You ungrateful wretches. I even gifted you things. And this is how you repay me? You deserve to die. Indeed, she had shed her innocent facade, revealing her true nature before the maids. I shook my head repeatedly. Only Tsulon could stoop so low as to gift the maids in a bid to curry favor. Who, then, is the real ungrateful wretch? The Yu family has treated you so well, yet you harbor dreams of becoming the matriarch while failing to show gratitude. You should ponder whether someone of your caliber is worthy of such aspirations. Bah! You're not even fit to polish Miss Lin's shoes. One maid chimed in, and then another, collectively denouncing Tsulon to the ground. Enraged, Tsulon's eyes turned crimson as she grappled with the 2 maids, vehemently declaring, You are spouting nonsense. How goes mine? He is merely bewitched by that wretched Lin Ranyan. Once I reclaim him, the first thing I will do is toss you both out of the Yu family. Indeed, Sulon's target was Yu Hao. My expression hardened as I saved the recording I had just captured. I dispatched someone to keep a watchful eye on Sulon's every move, prepared to thwart any schemes she might concoct. However, Sulon suddenly adopted a more subdued demeanor, playing the role of a dutiful and considerate daughter before my in-laws. Refraining from any acidic remarks, she maintained a safe distance from my husband, no longer attempting to ingratiate herself as a green tea. Yet, her newfound composure only heightened my vigilance. I could not shake the feeling that Sulon was biding her time for a grand scheme. After all, her harsh words from that day echoed in my mind. A week later, just as I returned from the foundation, I had yet to step into the living room when a maid approached me mysteriously, saying, "Madam, I saw Sulon sneaking into an adult novelty store. What did she buy?" A sense of foreboding washed over me as I tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "A love potion," the maid whispered. My mind immediately raced. Sulon was planning something with Yu Hao. Where was he? I stepped into the living room, searching for Yu Hao and Sulon while inquiring about their whereabouts. "Mister, you seem to have gone out with Miss Sulon a short while ago," the maid nervously replied. Clearly, she sensed something was amiss. A short while ago? When exactly? I halted, my expression turning serious. The maid thought for a moment before responding, "About 20 minutes ago." 20 minutes? I calculated the time. Perhaps I still had a chance. I pulled out my phone to call Yu Hao as I rushed outside. Sulon aimed to ensnare Yu Hao, and I could not allow her to succeed. My man would not fall prey to her schemes. Yet, Yu Hao's phone rang endlessly, with no answer. My expression darkened further as I immediately checked his location using an app on my phone. Initially, Yu Hao had been the one to install the tracking software on my phone, allowing us to locate each other whenever necessary. He had mentioned that this way, in case of any unforeseen circumstances, we could find one another right away. Little did I know, today, it would indeed prove useful. I discovered that Yu Hao was on Yongji Avenue, and looking ahead, there was a 5-star hotel. Surely, their destination was that hotel. Connecting the dots with Sulon's purchase of the love potion, I felt my suspicions were nearly confirmed. I dared not delay any further. I revved the engine of the finest sports car from the garage and sped down the back roads towards the hotel, pressing the accelerator to the floor. My only hope was to intercept them before they arrived. I fervently wished that time was still on my side. However, upon my swift arrival at the hotel, my gaze fell upon Yu Hao's black Maserati parked in the lot, and my heart plummeted, swiftly accompanied by a surge of intense anger. "Yu Hao, please do not let me down. If you cannot see through such despicable tactics employed by Sulon, it would be utterly unacceptable." I could not afford to dwell on that thought any longer and, accompanied by my bodyguards, I charged towards Yu Hao's hotel room with unbridled determination. The hotel staff, intimidated by my fervor, dared not intervene, trailing closely behind me in apprehension of my possible actions. I raised my hand, signaling my bodyguards to forcefully break open the door to the hotel room. Yet, just then, the door swung open from the inside, revealing a furious Yu Hao rushing out. Upon seeing me, his anger morphed into a look of distress. Grasping my hand tightly, he nervously explained, Ran, what are you doing here? You must listen to me. Sulon drugged me, attempting to force herself upon me, but I managed to escape. Please believe me, I am still innocent. She has not tainted me." My initial fury dissipated in an instant due to his words. A smile crept onto my lips as I patted his arm. "You may yet be salvageable." Though his attire was somewhat disheveled, he was still fully clothed. At least he had managed to escape on his own without my intervention. Seeing that I was not angry, Yu Hao grew even more grieved. "Sulon is utterly deranged. She told me you had prepared a surprise for me and wanted to bring me to meet you. Although I sensed something was amiss, I feared that if it were true, your surprise would be ruined, so I followed her. I had no idea she would attempt to drug me. Fortunately, I didn't drink it, or I would have been in a far worse predicament." He shuddered at the thought, clearly shaken, relieved that he had fled in time to preserve his innocence. Sulon, disheveled, emerged from the room, and upon hearing Yu Hao's words, her eyes reddened.
"Oh yeah.
"Didn't you say I was your favorite? You were the one who invited me here, claiming we would be together." Yu Hao looked at her with disgust. "If I truly invited you, would I have run out like this? Moreover, I am not blind. Why would I forsake my angelic Ran for you? My tastes are not so grotesque." Laughter erupted from those around us, causing Chulan's cheeks to flush crimson as she stubbornly approached, attempting to embrace Yu Hao. Although she had failed to consummate her intentions with him, Her presence indicated her awareness of my understanding of the situation. As long as she could sow discord between Yu Hao and me, she had not lost. Fortunately, my bodyguards reacted swiftly, pulling her away. Yu Hao, terrified, quickly retreated behind me, fearful of even the slightest contact with Chu Lan. Tears streamed down Chu Lan's cheeks as she looked at Yu Hao with a pitiful gaze, twisting her clothing in distress.
Oh yeah.
We were the closest of friends as children. You promised to marry me when we grew up. Why has everything changed now that she is here? Can't we return to the way things were? Yet, in her eyes, I detected a glimmer of resentment and scheming. Yu Hao replied with irritation. That was merely a childhood game, do you understand? You and the others insisted I say that it was never my genuine sentiment. I have always regarded you as a sister. My heart belongs to my wife, Lin Ran. It was true then, it is true now, and it will forever remain so. Oh, and by the way, you are no longer even a sister to me. I believe you are mentally unstable. Ran, don't you have the number of the head of the mental hospital? Hurry and have her checked, Yu Hao stated bluntly. Chu Lan's face drained of color at his scorn, and she began to sob genuinely, her cries heart-wrenching. I pulled out my phone to check a message I had just received. My gaze towards Chu Lan now tinged with disdain and fury. I fear she will not be heading to the mental hospital, but rather to a different location.
What?
Yu Hao inquired, perplexed. Chu Lan ceased her weeping, regarding me with suspicion. I wasted no time, directly dialing the police, then coldly stated, she needs to visit the precinct for a thorough discussion. Chu Lan's expression changed abruptly, her voice sharp. What have you done, Lin Ran? Yu Hao quietly asked, is she a criminal? I nodded, displaying the investigation results my father had sent me. Chu Lan, a decade ago, you were indeed sold to a remote village by traffickers. But you quickly allied with them, engaging in abduction and fraud. You transformed from a victim into a perpetrator. And the number of innocent girls and children you have harmed over the years is beyond count. My voice grew increasingly frigid as I continued. Had you not aided the traffickers using your womanly charm, those innocent girls would not have fallen prey so easily. Recently, the trafficker you were with was captured. While you evaded arrest, hiding until you saw the news about the Yu family, prompting you to seek a reunion with them to escape police pursuit and gain personal advantage. Chu Lan, you truly evoke disgust. Upon reviewing the investigation results sent by my father, I too was taken aback. I had suspected Chu Lan was problematic, yet I had never anticipated the truth would be so vile and ruthless. She was indeed a trafficker, bearing the weight of lives lost. Her intention in approaching the Yu family was to win Yu Hao's affection and seize the Yu family's fortune. I had allowed such a malignant tumor to linger by my side for so long. Chu Lan, it seems my words about your mental state were a compliment. Yu Hao's expression was one of disbelief, followed by anger and disappointment. Do you have any idea how much this would hurt, Mom? She has genuinely cared for you as her daughter. He seemed unable to grasp how the little girl who had once trailed behind him calling out Hao Go had transformed into this. Yu Hao's greatest concern was how his mother would react upon discovering the truth. Yet, such matters could not be kept from her.
Gueulant,
realizing her true nature had been exposed, began to laugh maniacally. Hurt? When I was sold to that village, forced upon by an old, ugly, disabled man.
who could understand my pain?
If I did not find a way to save myself, would I truly spend my life in that wretched mountain hideaway? I retorted. Your notion of self-preservation involved colluding with traffickers to abduct more innocent girls and children? You may have endured the rain, but you must not tear apart others' umbrellas while you suffer. Chu Lan spat at me. What right do you, born with a silver spoon, have to judge me? I shrugged, unwilling to engage her further. Just then, the police arrived, cold handcuffs clamping around her wrists as they thanked me. Miss Lin, thank you for helping us capture a trafficker. This long-standing syndicate is finally dismantled. After my report, the police swiftly verified that Chu Lan was indeed the elusive fugitive they had been pursuing. As Chu Lan realized the situation was beyond her control, her eyes glared at me with venom. As she was escorted past me by the officers, she cursed through clenched teeth. Lin ran. Do not rejoice too soon. I await your downfall with bated breath. In a swift motion, I slapped Chu Lan across the face. You shall never witness that. Perhaps you should learn how to sing tears behind bars instead. Yu Hao anxiously rubbed my hand. Does it hurt? In truth, I had longed to strike her. Chu Lan complained to the police. Officers, she intentionally harmed me. You must arrest her. I gazed at her with pity. It seems a mere slap was insufficient. The police led away the frantically screaming Chu Lan from the hotel. Yu Hao sheltered me, his face a mask of remorse as he said, Ran, It's fortunate that your keen intellect unraveled her true nature. Otherwise, our entire family would have been ensnared in her web. I shot him a glance. Let's hope we won't encounter another Zhang Lan or Li Lan in the future. Yu Hao assured me, I promise it will never happen again. Had it not been for my parents urging me to take care of her, I would have ignored her entirely. This was indeed the truth. The incident regarding Chu Lan's arrest by the police was not deliberately concealed and swiftly made its way onto the evening news. Before we could even inform my in-laws, my mother-in-law had already learned about Chu Lan's actions and her attempts to seduce Yu Hao. She expressed her guilt and sorrow, saying, I initially wanted to compensate her out of consideration for her mother, but I never anticipated that I would be inviting a wolf into our home, nearly endangering our entire family. Ran, I am so sorry. I have caused you distress. My mother-in-law grasped my hand, sincerely apologizing. I smiled graciously, mother. It is not your fault. You could not have known the kind of person she was. Just as my words fell, a wave of nausea suddenly washed over me, and I began to gag in front of my mother-in-law. She was startled and, filled with concern, asked anxiously, could it be that Ran is expecting? I paused in surprise. Yu Hao promptly took me to the hospital, where the examination confirmed my pregnancy. I was already 8 weeks along. The entire family erupted in joyous celebration. Wonderful. I am going to be a father, Yu Hao exclaimed, twirling me around in excitement. I am going to be a grandmother. My mother-in-law clapped her hands in delight, and then turned to Yu Hao. Be careful. Don't jostle Ran. Yu Hao gently set me down, his expression filled with concern. The news of my pregnancy enveloped the family in a wave of elation. However, I felt a twinge of anxiety. Was I truly ready to embrace motherhood? Yet, witnessing the eager anticipation in everyone's faces stirred a flicker of hope within me. My parents rushed back immediately, treating me with the utmost care as if I were precious. Gifts piled up in our villa to the point of overflowing. As for Chu Lan, her sentence was swiftly decided. Life imprisonment. She would spend the remainder of her days in a prison cell. I successfully gave birth to a daughter, who became the cherished jewel of our family. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this tale, please consider subscribing and liking to show your support.
Until we meet again in the next story.